Hey, what is going on, everyone? It's me, Mr. Mario, and welcome back to another episode of Thrifty Gaming Pickups. For anybody who does not know, this is a series I do on my second channel. If you're wanting something a little more updated, a little more edited and such, I'd recommend checking out my main channel linked down below in the description, where I cover more tutorials and things like that. However, this is on my second channel, and this is a series I've been doing for several years now with my dog Lily, where I am a little bit of a game collector. I like to pick up things, and I usually like to get good deals on them, like many other people do. I go to thrift shops, I go to game shops, I go to yard sales, local, findings as well too. And usually if I'm able to find good deals, I like to accumulate a little bit of it, and then I like to record a video on it, and we have Thrifty Gaming Pickups. Now I do want to say right off the bat, my apologies. It's been quite a while since I've had one of these episodes, and that's just because collecting has slowed down. I mean, just putting it bluntly right there. And even the times I have bought games, they haven't really been like thrifty, it's like games I'm paying full price for, I'm getting a little bit of a discount on, but it's not cheap enough where I'm like, oh, I'm going to totally make an episode of this. But we have an episode that we're going to be recording right here with the dog Lily, so let's go ahead and sit down on the floor. Unfortunately, I don't have any Lily, I don't have any treats for you. I'm sorry, but we're going to get to recording this here, so thankfully, she still loves being in these videos. But either way, let's go ahead and get right into this here. So I have a few pickups from a local pickup, a game shop, and from a friend. And covering all of it here, I kind of had to decide which order we're going to do things in. But let's go ahead, just cover the game shop first, because we got a few games right here. So these were all from a local game shop I had gone to. My girlfriend and I were hanging out. We ended up going to a local game shop, and I wasn't even expecting to get anything funny enough. But of course, I ended up finding a few things, and I thought I got some pretty good deals on them. So first of all, I ended up getting a couple of Switch games. The first one here being Persona 5 Tactica. Now it's funny because my girlfriend was absolutely shocked that I was able to get this here for a deal, because she'd even said, you were just talking about Persona, which is true. I've been a fan of the Persona games since Persona 4 Golden on the Vita, so I'm a bit newer of a Persona player, but even prior to that, I was aware of Persona 3 when that released. I did play a little bit of the original Persona, and I think I was very first introduced to everything with Persona 2 when I quite literally found Persona 2 in perfect condition in the back of the game shop I used to work at. Lily, you're really sniffing that. Okay. Anyways, I ended up finding Persona 2 in perfect condition, looked at it, I asked, why is this back here not for sale? My manager didn't know why, and lo and behold, I don't even know how much it's worth now, but I was shocked to find that used, it was $100. So I ended up putting it up for sale behind the counter. I don't know if we ever sold it. But either way, it's funny because some friends were talking about this, because I've had not one, but two friends who have been interested in Persona, and they asked me which game they should play. And in my opinion here, if you've never played a Persona game, people are going to be a little different. I know, I tell stories on this. This is how it goes. But either way, in my opinion, usually the newest mainline version of a Persona game is the best one to start off with. Not only as they get newer, they seem to get easier, but also seem to get more accessible. So for somebody who is like new to the Persona franchise, if this was 10 years ago, I would have said Persona 4 Golden. Now these days, I tell them Persona 5 Royal. Start with that, and then see where you want to go from there. If you want more Persona 5 because you love those characters, there's the spin-off games you can play. But if you want more of that nice mainline Persona type game, you can go back to Persona 4 Golden, then go to Persona 3, and just go back on there. And then of course everyone forgets about the first two. Either way, that's all to say, I ended up finding this here in pretty immaculate shape, and even had a download code in it as well too, which was not used, so that was nice. $20 for this. So I was not expecting to pick up Tactica because I still haven't finished Strikers, but at that price, I couldn't pass it up. Next up, I ended up getting Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. Now, the funny thing is, I actually have this on PS5, but when I started playing it on PS5, I ended up regretting it pretty quickly. Because the good news is, this is just a remastered version of the PSP game, through and through. The bad news is, this is a remastered version of the PSP game through and through, meaning that it plays like a PSP game. So when I was playing it, I was like, it's not that it's bad on the PS5, but I really just wish I had it portably because it worked so well on the PSP, and this would be great on the Switch. So the funny thing is, I have it on PS5. I actually got it as a gift years ago, before Final Fantasy VII Rebirth ended up releasing. I ended up playing a little bit of this on PS5, then started playing Rebirth, but I did say to myself, I was like, you know, now I have a good reason to pick up the Switch copy because I'd love to play it in portable mode, and they end up having a few copies of Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. Now again, this was in pretty stellar shape. I don't think it had a download code with it, but it was used and it looks pretty new. And there's been a lot of games at this shop I go to that have been like that, so that's been a nice little bonus. However, this was a little bit higher than I wanted to pay. I think he was selling it for like $27 or $28, so I just went up and I said, hey, you know, this game's been out a bit, could you maybe do a price check on it? And he said, yeah, no, don't worry about it. I'll check and see. I don't really get to the Switch games that often, so the prices might be out of date. He looked up, he said, well, honestly, the price is pretty accurate on it. It looks like it's selling for about $25, but you know what? I'll sell it to you for $20. And I was like, you know what? Perfect. That is like the exact amount I was willing to pay. If it was going to be more than $20, I wouldn't have gotten it, but $20 for this, I was pretty happy with that. Also ended up grabbing a couple PS1 games when I was there. There's been some of these like budget games from Age Tech, or like these A1 games, and I remember near the end of the PlayStation's life cycle, I remember I used to go to Target and I used to see these here, and these were sold for $10 all day, every day. And there was several series of them that were just like very basic. There is one, pretty much all of them are cheap except for one. There's one of them that is an RPG and it looks really silly. But the thing is, it was one of those things where it was just a really cheap, generic type RPG, and I've never played it, but apparently the people who picked it up played it, got it as a joke, and realized that the RPG is actually really good. So the funny thing is, with these type of like cheaper looking games right here, the A1 games, like the Age Tech ones for PS1, they're pretty much all worthless, except if you look into the RPG. The last time I saw it used to be like a $50 or $60 game, because that's the one people actually wanted to go after, because that was the one that was probably the best out of all of them. Either way, like I said, this used to sell for $10. I ended up seeing this in pretty much like a clearance area for $1, and I said, you know what, for $1, I don't have it in the collection. This would actually be a, you know, fun bowling PS1 game, I'm sure. Why the heck not? So I got bowling for $1. And lastly, I ended up getting Nuclear Strike. I used to always see this for sale. I remember growing up. It was like, especially way after the PS1's heyday, it was funny because I'd go to Walmart and it's like this is the only PS1 game they had, and I would always see it for $15, although I never picked it up. But it seemed like an interesting game even back then. I always wanted to pick it up, give it a try, what have you. But at this point now, I don't have to try it because I do own it. So I end up paying $3 for this, which again, this here I was happy for. So end up grabbing those two, no issue there. Well, I guess these four technically. Next up, end up getting some imported games right here for one of my favorite systems, if not, honestly, probably my favorite console. I'm just saying now, it's probably my favorite console, the Xbox 360. So I end up getting 3 games right here, and these here were actually from a friend of mine, because a friend of mine last year, funny enough, ended up going to Japan, and he just messaged me, and several friends of mine are like this. When they go to Japan, they're just like, hey, I'm going to be going to Japan. Is there anything you're interested in? And I usually assemble like a list of games, and I'm like, hey, here's a list of games I'm looking for. If you find them, cool. If not, don't worry about it. Just don't stress yourself out. But my friend, he's a really big collector. He was more collecting other stuff, but he was actually like, no. Please give me a list of games because it's going to make it a little more fun for me. And I was like, you know, if it's more fun for you, that's awesome. So he ended up going, I want to say at the end of 2023, somewhere close to that. And he was able to find 3 games that I was looking for. He ended up getting Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary, Gears of War 2, and Gears of War 3. Now, these are games I already own, but essentially when it comes down to Japan game collecting, I've kind of taken a little bit of a different approach on it. I only get the games that I'm really going to play. And some of it is like, so like if I could just get like any Japanese game, I'm not going to. And even like I used to get like equivalents of like games that I loved and such, but for some games, like if it's like a super heavy, like text heavy RPG that has already released in the US and it's fully in English here, but there's no like localization patch or anything online, I'm probably not going to grab that. Something like one of the Persona 2 games, I don't remember which one, but one of them had an English patch and it was an exclusive game in Japan. I think it was Persona 2 Innocence Innocent Sin. That one I bought a copy of because I bought it, it was cheap enough, I have it in the collection, and then I end up ripping the ISO from it and patched it, so I was able to play it in English. The thing is, I really just keep to collecting games that I'm going to actually play, not just accumulate. And for some of these games here, these are all games that are near and dear to me, and I think it's cool if they have a Japanese language option on there to play it in Japanese, because, you know, Gears of War 2, Gears of War 3, even Halo is just shooting bad guys, essentially. And I've played the story enough times, I get it there. But either way, what we're looking at here, this one does not have a price tag on it. This one, it looks like it was 400 Japanese yen. This one was 270 Japanese yen, so quite cheap games. Now, the funny thing is, I got all these here for free. Essentially, my friend messaged me, when he came back, he said, hey, I got the games, and I said, hey, just let me know how much I owe you. And he had taken a while to ship them to me, like a long time, like several months, to the point where he said, you know what, I'm so sorry about this, dude, my bad, I'm so sorry, you don't owe me anything. And I'm like, are you sure? And he said, yes, like, it's a gift, it's for you, my bad, just think of it as like an apology for me taking so long to ship them. And I was like, dude, I'm not even that worried about it. You went to Japan and you found these things for me on your own time and dime and all that. But I thanked him for it, so I really appreciate it. So, like I said, I ended up getting these 3 here for free. Very nice gesture, but even if I had to pay, I would have been more than happy to pay the prices. And finally, we're finishing off with some Xbox 360 love. And look at look at Lily right there. I almost said look at Xbox, but Lily, we might just have to call you Xbox at this point. I don't know. Either way, we got a couple of Xbox 360s right here, and this deal here was, I actually posted this on social media, so for anybody who follows me a few months ago, you might have seen this already, so this might not be too much of a surprise. However, what my girlfriend's been doing is there's times where she usually like browses local marketplaces and such, and she looks for deals for things that I might like, and she links them to me. She ended up finding one of these here, and it was for 2 Xbox 360s that were sold for parts. That was it. Now, as you can see right here, they are unfortunately missing the bezels, so that is unfortunate. This one seems to be missing the memory unit, I guess flaps right there, and then here, well, this flap's completely gone. This one, the metal piece, is just gone on that as well. But the nice thing is, this one is an Elite console. This one is a Resident Evil 5 Special Edition console. Both of them are Jasper units. Both of them are working, but they are 4 parts because I don't remember which one, but one of the systems has an open tray error, meaning that really you just need to replace the laser on it and you should be okay. The other one is fully working, but it has parental controls on it that have been so dialed down that none of my games will boot up on there. It will read them, but it will not continue to boot them up because of the parental controls. Either way, though, they're both Jasper units. I like to go after the Jasper units because they are the most reliable Xbox 360s that I've run into, and both of these are repairable. I know how to replace the laser. I know how to bypass parental controls. We're all good on there. Either way, I end up getting those 2 systems, not only because they were Jaspers and they were repairable, but because it was $5. It was $5 for the lot of them, as in like $2.50, $2.50. And even the seller, it was funny because when we reached out to him, I think he probably just wanted to make sure like I wasn't going to try and yell he was ripping me off or anything, but he was like, hey, just to be clear, these do not work. Are you sure you want them? Are you sure you want them? The disk drives are broken. They are not working properly. They don't have cables. They don't have hard drives. Are you sure? And I'm like, yes. I completely understand. I am buying a broken product. No takebacks, nothing. Just tell me where to pick them up. And even it was interesting because I ended up just picking them up from his house. Like we did like a porch pickup drop off. But even it was one of those things where he said, hey, this is the time to come. I just haven't run into this. Maybe others can enlighten me. But he said, hey, this is the time to come. I'll be available at this time. I'm in this area. When you're in this area, let me know and I'll give you my address. So I hadn't personally run into that before, but I mean, I went out there, and when I was like, a few minutes away from his house, I let him know. He gave me the address. I was able to pick them up. $5, easy enough. I think I even paid in like spare change. I think I had like $4 and 4 quarters that I paid with. So either way, that's probably my favorite console deal I've gotten in a while, and I need to refurbish them and all that stuff, but I need to get, you know, a couple bezels for them just so they at least look nice. The flaps, that's fine, but again, thankfully, they're repairable. We're good on that. Either way, that has been it for this episode of Thrifty Gaming Pickups. I hope you all enjoyed seeing the pickups. I hope you all enjoyed the associated stories with them, and more importantly, I hope you all enjoyed seeing Sleepy Lily right here. Either way, that is about it for this episode. As I said, if you enjoyed this video, a like would absolutely be appreciated. If you didn't like it, a dislike is fine as well too, because, oh, I don't know, maybe you don't like the free Japanese games, maybe you don't like Tactica, maybe you don't like the broken Xbox 360s. I'm not sure. But just keep in mind that if you do dislike this episode, you're going to make this sleepy dog here very, very sad. Anyways, that's about it for this episode. Thank you all for watching, everyone.